And Shvachkin looked ready as well.
Remember, Erik will be on the plate for game one throughout the entirety of the elimination rounds as the first overall seed.
A ponder off a tropical island is where our quarterfinals will begin. Smith very quickly keeping with the ponder. He is happy with what he's found, and Force of Will was the draw.
An issue that Esper Deathblade has in some matchups is the mana base is pretty fragile, and so you're really liable to Wasteland, which is one of the marquee cards for Delver strategies and lands and a bunch of other decks in the format. None of that hanging out in Gabriel's deck. So Erik can be very, very liberal with just fetching for dual lands, just getting all of his mana online. Gabriel can't punish him game one. And in the post-board games, the way Gabriel can punish him is something where it doesn't matter what lands Erik got, because it's Blood Moon, and they're all locked.
Power level on Esper Deathblade very, very high, but as you mentioned, Wasteland is a huge problem for the deck if you can break up the mana. Now, this deck does have a little bit of reliance on Deathrite Shaman for that mana fixing as well.
Yep. I mean, Esper Deathblade, to me, is just, this is a collection of individually powerful Legacy cards, more than any other deck in Legacy.
Here's a copy of Thoughtseize, an individually powerful card.
Yep. Just look up and down that roster. Deathrite Shaman, Stoneforge Mystic, True Name Nemesis, Snapcaster Mage. Now Jace Vryn's Prodigy's in the mix as well.
3 copies to Dig Through Time.
Yep.
Another addition.
Swords to Plowshares, Liliana the Veil, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Ponder, Brainstorm, Thoughtseize. It's just all individually very, very good cards. Not a lot in the way of synergy.
But if you can cast all of these spells,
yep,
life's probably pretty good. Brainstorm here for Gabe in response to Erik's Thoughtseize. So he wants to hide some information. Looks like he's happy with what he's hidden. Brainstorm is done resolving, and now we'll see Shvachkin's hand. A lot of lands over there and a Terminus, so this decision is very easy.
Most likely just protecting 2 spells on the top of his deck.
Yep.
And not hard for those spells to be better than Terminus. So there you go.
See if Smith has a follow-up here. It appears he's not, so Shvachkin will draw. Picked up a copy of Ponder. Pretty middling hand to start here for Gabe. Not really doing very much. We'll see if he's able to find anything useful with Ponder. Looks like he's found a couple copies of Terminus in that Ponder, so he's going to have to shuffle. So right now we know that Gabe has 5 lands in his hand.
Yeah, and that's really bad news here for Shvachkin here. Because he has fetch lands in his hand, if that Ponder showed a couple good cards and something bad, he could have gotten a lot of selection out of it. Instead, the top 3 was so bad he just has to shuffle, and the Ponder loses a lot of power when that happens.
Picked up a copy of Force Will pass the turn back. He doesn't have a blue card to go along with it, so Smith will draw. He'll sacrifice Flooded Strand very quickly. Down to 17. Make that 16, actually. A couple fetches and Thoughtseize. Look at himself. Let's make sure this is a scrub land.
Yes,
scrub land. There's a Savannah in his deck, too. He's going to try to trick me.
Yeah. Savannah, same art, slightly more green.
Yeah. Here's Liliana.
And you're watching Esper Deathblade in action. There's nothing fancy about this.
Yep.
This is just, here's a lot of power for mana just every single turn of the game. You have a couple catch-all answers to break up synergies from the other side of the table. And you hope that this is good enough, and it often is.
Liliana is still out there. The draw for Shvachkin last turn was a copy of Swords of Plowshares. Here's a Brainstorm for Erik. That'll resolve.
In my experience, Liliana the Veil is very powerful against Miracles when they do not have Divining Top, and something the Miracles deck can work around when they do have Divining Top, because you can play a very, very good game off the top of your deck with Divining Top and ways to shuffle. This is the bad scenario here for Shvachkin, which is his hand's going to get attacked, and he may not be able to survive Liliana going ultimate, stripping away most of his lands.
Yeah, the thing I like that Erik is probably going to try to do here is leave Force of Will plus blue card in hand in case top comes off the top of the deck.
Exactly.
Because it's so important to counter, and there's Sensei's Divining Top. That's the draw right now. So if I'm Smith and Shvachkin cast this top, I can't counter it fast enough. Let's see if Erik does have some interest in countering this.
This, to me, is worth a fight. It's a fight under normal circumstances, and with Erik having Liliana the Veil, I would not allow him to have Divining Top.
Yeah. Because the way this game is going for Erik, we're going to play this low-resource game.
Right, and Erik has way more proactive cards in his deck than Gabriel does. So if both players are empty-handed, Erik is going to draw better. some things can muck that up, especially Entreat the Angels. But as long as Gabriel is pinned on mana, Entreat can only do so much. And Erik just has more draws like Snapcaster Mage, things like Stoneforge Mystic, True Name Nemesis, just things he can put on the table. Gabriel has a lot more reactive cards.
Liliana's going up. Smith will discard Swords to Plowshares, so will Shvachkin. Smith empty-handed. Shvachkin will play a Flooded Strand and now a Counterbalance, so both players are empty-handed now. And we'll see how Smith wants to continue using Liliana here. He'll start by playing a Deathrite Shaman. Trigger, Counterbalance, that's a Karakas. Liliana will go up, neither player has a discard, but Smith doesn't want to lose the Planeswalker just yet. Karakas will enter the battlefield. Will Smith pull the trigger on the ultimate here is the question.
This seems like a fine spot. You get to keep the Liliana in play. Shvachkin's empty-handed, so there's not much to do anyway.
Now it's all about how to do the split. And this is kind of the tricky part with Liliana and her ultimate.
I think that I would probably split Counterbalance and the only white sources of mana against the blue lands. I think that's how you squeeze him the most.
I think Erik agrees with you.
Boom.
Look at you two on the same
Woo!
page. You can just go down there and play for him.
Yeah.
Shvachkin will draw. There's a Polluted Delta. Deathrite Shaman's going to go removing some things now.
With Liliana Ultimates, you want to make someone make a choice between A or B, and that's the most A or B split that Erik can make.
Savannah is the land there for Smith. Shvachkin is revealing a miracle. Terminus will take care of Deathrite Shaman, though Deathrite Shaman will get to activate one more time. So Shvachkin will go down to 16. For Smith, he's just got to draw another threat now.
Yep.
He's got to love his positioning. He really has to hope that Shvachkin doesn't draw a top. But besides that, life is pretty good. I suppose Entreat the Angels is pretty scary right now, too.
Jace the Mind Sculptor is also a dangerous draw. Shvachkin's got to have two of those in this deck.
He just draws the Plains, however. Smith with a Flooded Strand. Liliana going up. We might see Liliana go ultimate again. Shvachkin drew his card and kept it. Here's Deathrite Shaman. There's Swords to Plowshares to take care of it.
I'm a little bit surprised that Erik is not using a Wasteland here, as it can blunt some of the impact if Gabriel happens to rip and treat the Angels.
Would be bad news if it happened here. Here's Snapcaster Mage. Now that's a good draw. That can hit a Brainstorm or a Ponder. Looks like it will be a Ponder. Looks like maybe Sensei's Divine Top is among those cards. See, the thing is, this Liliana lock is relatively good, but it's not game over good.
No.
Something's got to go along with it. Pressure's got to go along with this.
Absolutely. And it's all at risk of getting blown up at a moment's notice if Gabriel finds one of his Planeswalkers, Sensei's Divining Top, and treat the Angels.
Dig Through Time.
Dig Through Time is another problem.
So while Smith is in the lead right now, it doesn't even feel like it anymore because Snapcaster Mage has flashback to Ponder, and Shvachkin has found something he's very happy with because he did not shuffle with Ponder.
Shvachkin's had some good fortune here in the face of this Liliana. He's drawn lands on a lot of turns where if he drew counterspells, he would just lose them. The turn that he drew Swords to Plowshares, Erik drew a creature, so he's able to do something with the Swords to Plowshares instead of having that discarded for no effect. And now Snapcaster Mage represents a huge draw, and Shvachkin is reassembling his resources.
Yeah, Dig Through Time is the card. And that is a pretty nice one to have right now. And you see Erik's reaction. Nothing he can do.
Yeah, all the information's on the table. Nothing to be done about it.
Now the onus is on Smith to have a big top deck. But for now, Shvachkin going to take a look at the top 7 cards. He'll take 2 with him. If you're Gabe, you're looking for a Sensei's Divining Top here for sure.
And, the mana here that Erik is not wasting Shvachkin off of is relevant. He has a land left over. If he finds Divining Top in this top 7, he can use all of his mana this turn putting Divining Top into play.
Dig Through Time is done resolving. Shvachkin will pass the turn back over to Smith. There's a Brainstorm. Smith will take a look at the top 3. Jace the Mind Sculptor in there. Well, okay.
Huge.
One good top deck deserves another. So here comes Jace. Shvachkin looks like he's going to brainstorm in response, maybe try to find an answer. So 3 cards coming, 2 will have to go back. 1 is a brainstorm. 2 we don't get a great look at. And the 3rd one is a polluted delta.
I believe it's actually counterspell.
Oh, the actual factual.
Yes.
Two cards are going to go back. Brainstorm done resolving. Now Jace is on the battlefield. Smith will draw 3. He knows a couple of them. Keep in mind he has not activated Liliana just yet. Curious to see how he wants to go about using the card.
I really like, believe he, okay, so he has to put one more back here from the brainstorm. I like taking Source of Plowshares, plowing the Snapcaster Mage, and then plussing Liliana.
Sure. So now 2 cards go back. There's the plow to take care of the Snapcaster Mage. So that's gone. Now you plus Liliana. Shvachkin will have to lose a card. Looks like he'll lose land. They want to make sure Liliana was on the right amount. It was on 5 coming into the turn, so it goes up to 6. Jace is on 3. Now we head Shvachkin's way. Looks like he's going to draw Council's Judgment.
Yep.
Perhaps.
There's just a little confusion there. Eric was actually, the mistake Eric made was actually in his disadvantage big time, because he was trying to put keep 2 cards, discard one of them to Liliana, and then Source of Plowshares.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Here's a brainstorm instead for Shvachkin. You can see the cards he's working with there. Counterbalance, Council's Judgment, Force of Will, Counterspell. So looks like Counterbalance and Force of Will are going to go away. Counterspell and Council's Judgment are going to stay in the grip. And the Judgment, yeah, I have to imagine it's going to take care of Jace.
It's ugly to lose your Counterspell to Liliana plussing and Liliana going ultimate next turn, but Jace uncontested is just game over.
Yeah.
Shvachkin can potentially still work through this Liliana, even going ultimate a second time, but Jace is a runaway in this spot.
Smith's going to sacrifice a fetch land. Go grab himself an Underground Sea. I believe the card he drew for the turn was a Brainstorm. And it does not appear as though this is going to resolve, because if I'm Shvachkin, I'm going to use my Counterspell. Maybe? I guess not. It's a touch risky. Now, Smith looks like he found a copy of Dig Through Time, but Gabe still has that Counterspell.
Yeah, I like this play from Shvachkin's position. The most likely thing that happens is Erik keeps a spell and casts it.
Sure.
You know, Shvachkin's down to 1 card. He didn't Counterspell the Brainstorm, so you could probably get a more valuable card out of Smith's deck by waiting.
Might be able to rope him in.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is Smith brainstorms into 3 lands, plays a land, and pluses the Liliana, but then he's brainstorm locked.
Sure.
2 lands. You know, you don't mind that either.
There's a Counterspell. That'll take care of the Dig Through Time.
And this is a spot, again, where Erik has gotten punished for not using the Wasteland.
Yeah.
Shvachkin's had multiple turns here where he's used all of his mana.
I suppose the question is, what is Wasteland going to get that's better?
Smith has a big mana advantage. I suppose he wants to get in a spot where if he draws Batterskull, he can cast it and protect it. But when you have Liliana going, I suppose there's also an argument for if you plan on going ultimate with Liliana again, you can split the Tundras against each other, then Wasteland, and then Shvachkin's really down on resources.
I like this split here. 3 islands Counterbalance versus the 2 non-basics in the plains, because if he keeps the 2 non-basics in the plains, you get to blow 1 up. And if he keeps all the islands in the Counterbalance, well, okay.
Yep.
Maybe you split the Tundras there.
I think the other arguable split is just putting the Counterbalance in the other stack, because then you can Wasteland, and Gabriel's down to Plains Tundra Counterbalance against your Liliana.
Sure.
I would want to make it really juicy there for Shvachkin to keep the pile that has a Tundra in it, so you can use your Wasteland, and I think you can do that by giving him the Counterbalance.
Little draw go action again now as Liliana continues to tick up. Players will discard. Marsh Flats there for Smith. Here's Sensei top off the top.
Huge draw.
Yep.
Now, Shvachkin's still got a lot of work to do here. He's got no white mana, really light on resources, no cards in hand, playing empty-handed the rest of the way, but this is a good start.
His Entreat the Angels bit the dust. Here's Spell Pierce. Going to check with Counterbalance. All right, Swords to Plowshares will just counter that. And for what it's worth, Smith knows that's on top of the deck now, so a little bit of info there. And did he draw a good one? Because he's tapping mana pretty quick. Might be a dig? Yes, okay. Shvachkin is going to spin, maybe find a dig of his own. Ponder, Brainstorm, Swords of Plowshares. Not an answer to dig through time. The dig is going to resolve here for Smith. The one thing that Erik will play around here is the 1-mana spell being on top of the deck.
Yeah. Which is trivial for him to do anyway because there's the Divining Top in play. So that's already, he's already priced into that.
Well, it appears as though Erik has found 2 cards that he's happy with. Other 5 will go to the bottom. Now he goes with another dig through time. Okay, that's his 3rd one. That's the last one.
And if this one resolved, the first one of the turn, safe to assume this one's resolving as well.
Yeah, you can accelerate this process a little bit because it's not going to get countered. So Smith is looking for more cards now. And it looks like he's found 2 that he's happy with yet again. Those will go to the bottom. Dig is done resolving. Looks like he's found a copy of Stoneforge Mystic. Force of Will in hand as well. Here's an attempted Stoneforge Mystic. That's going to resolve, so now it's time to search up an equipment. Batterskull's the weapon of choice. And for Shvachkin, he does have an answer to Stoneforge with Swords of Plowshares up there, but it does not appear that he has an answer to Batterskull just yet.
And Shvachkin's also lacking white mana. And even if the Stoneforge Mystic gets killed, Smith has more than enough mana to just deploy the Batterskull. This is the upshot of Smith not using the Wasteland earlier on in the game, is that he's got enough mana to really maximize Batterskull shenanigans.
Here's a Ponder from Gabe. Take a look at the top 3 cards. Jace the Mind Sculptor among them, but he is a mana short of that. And this is going to show you the power of Liliana over the course of the game. And, you know, it's weird because it appears it hasn't done much, and it has ultimated twice, though it hasn't done a lot with those ultimates, but it has bottlenecked Shvachkin's resources as far as mana is concerned, and he's just going to concede the game knowing that there's really no way out of this for him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was not one single moment you could point to where Smith got that game. He was just slowly but surely pushing on all of Shvachkin's resources. Shvachkin could never really assemble anything of note, and the second Liliana ultimate was really the nail in the coffin. At that point, Shvachkin didn't have enough resources to work with.
Well, Erik Smith going to win game number 1 here over Gabriel Shvachkin. Esper Deathblade up a game over Miracles, which means we're going to take a look at the sideboards. Both players will get each other's deck lists so they can see him as well. And we will start with Shvachkin with his Eversworn Canonist, 2 Monastery Mentors, Adventure Shaper Savant, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Vendilion Click, a single copy of Wear Tear, and the big one, 2 copies of Blood Moon.
2 copies of Blood Moon are excellent for this matchup. Smith is locked by it. He can basically cast Batterskull, Umezawa Shite, and he's got whatever he's got in play at the time, unless he has Deathrite Shaman. I do like Monastery Mentor in this matchup as well. I don't think Shvachkin can really hold the game forever with top plus counterbalance. Smith has a good spread of costs in the deck, and Abrupt Decay is also in Smith's sideboard. So I think he needs to diversify his angles of attack a little bit. I think the Pyroblast, the Wear Tear to answer equipment, the Vendilion Clicks, I like all these cards. I think Shvachkin wants to become a little bit better at playing an empty-handed or resource-light game, and just needs to bring in some more individually powerful cards, get away from all the reactive stuff in his deck when Smith's attacking his hand like this.
For Smith, he's got a Pithing Needle, a Supreme Verdict, a Telement Performance, 3 Meddling Mages, a Sylvan Library, 2 Abrupt Decays, 2 Flusterstorms, 2 Surgical Extractions, a Zealous Persecution, and another copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor.
So some easy ones to bring in here. The other copy of Jace is great for this sort of matchup. The 2 copies of Abrupt Decay and the Sylvan Library. I think those are all great cards for playing this kind of game. Abrupt Decay good against Counterbalance, good against Blood Moon. I think the Pithing Needle can come in as well as an answer to Sensei's Divining Top. Then there's the second tier of cards that I don't know Smith's going to want to touch, but maybe he does. 3 copies of Meddling Mage, 2 copies of Flusterstorm. They're not the most powerful cards in the matchup, but they are also, you know, they're not off the table. They're good enough where Smith may bring them in.
No, you know, Smith's got some cards that he can sideboard out here pretty easily in Swords to Plowshares. Now, where he goes from there is a good question.
Well, the Swords to Plowshares is an interesting case because game 1 it is probably Smith's worst card in the deck. But with Shvachkin probably bringing in copies of Monastery Mentor, I'm not sure Smith can cut all the plows out. Maybe he can go down to 3 copies or something like that. But with Shvachkin having these Monastery Mentors, I don't think he can cut the full 4.
Interesting little back and forth game on how many he's supposed to sideboard out, and he has to guess if Shvachkin is going to board in those mentors himself.
Exactly. I think Shvachkin has to. If you saw what happened in game 1 there, it's very hard for him to piece together all the different things he's trying to do as a Miracles player, and he just needs to get some more normal Magic cards into his deck.
Well, these players will shuffle up here for game number 2. Gabriel Shvachkin will be on the play. But in the meantime, we will talk about Star City Games Game Night, the very popular promotion. August is just about over. It ends on Monday, so you don't have a ton of time to get Furious George.
Right. Every month we send out new kits with pins and tokens with a new animal on them. This is the August kit, as Cedric mentioned, running out of time to get this. But September is right around the corner. You see the Kraken. Too late to sign up for this one. But if you want to get signed up for October with the Hippo, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night for more information, or contact your Star City Games organized play representative.
We do get ready here for game number 2. If we do have updates for you guys on our backup match, we will certainly let you know. It's between Matthew Long playing Blue Red Delver and Alex Bostecki playing Grixis Delver. However, they're still in game number 1, which is a bit of a surprise. I expected that one to be a little bit quicker than this one.
Those games can bog down, especially when one person gets ahead and the other person gets a Young Pyromancer and starts bogging down the ground.
Sure.
It can get slow.
Someone's got to find Shooting Nemesis to put it on easy mode.
And listen, any Ponder, Brainstorm, Fetch Land matchup can go very long.
Especially with a lot on the line.
Yeah.
Take a couple more seconds to think about this Brainstorm or Ponder.
But we had a pretty speedy game 1 over here.
Yeah, we did.
By the standards of the matchup. I think at the 17-minute mark, 18-minute mark, Shvachkin tapped the mat when he knew that he was Brainstorm locked and just out-resourced in a way he couldn't come back from.
Yeah, not a spot he wants to be in at all there. Erik Smith, former Invitational champion, here 2 years ago. I know it's not back-to-back. There's a little gap there, but it would be impressive to see him win in this building again and qualify for the Players' Championship.
Yep. All right, Smith has, he still has had his results over the last couple of years, but certainly not as big of an achievement as the Invitational win. That's still the feather on the cap here.
There is the Goblin token that Erik Smith won for winning the season Invitational 2 years ago. Probably the most sentimental token for sure, because it's dedicated to his friend, and easily one of my favorite ones done.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it looks just like him.
Yes.
But
well, if Erik Smith was a goblin.
Correct.
With the ears and the
beard is still there.
The tattered rags instead of, a shirt and a cap. But I know what you mean. It is definitely his likeness.
Well, one of the best ones ever done, and certainly the most sentimental, is he did dedicate that token to a passed away friend. And we'll see what the next token will be if he's able to win this one. Shvachkin will be on the play here. These two good friends, by the way.
A lot of Jersey in the top 8.
I know you're proud.
We still run this.
Not entirely sure what this is, but
Magic the Gathering.
Congratulations.
We still run this.
Congratulations, and nonetheless. Shvachkin going to take a mulligan. Not happy with his opening hand. We'll see if Smith is happy with his 7. So when I go to Ohio and there's a bunch of Ohio people in the top 8, do I get to say we still run this? Since it's more likely that there will be Ohio players in the top 8 since we're in Ohio?
If that ever happens, we'll cross that bridge,
Okay. Just want to make sure. As long as we're just making outlandish statements, I wanted to make one too. Now I just hope Steve Mann wins. So there's that.
Well, if there's any community of Magic players with more hubris than the New Jersey community, it's the Florida community. I think you want to pick a different horse.
No, I don't know if there's another horse to pick. So Shvachkin does not look thrilled at the 6 he's looking at. Might be convincing himself to try to keep this one.
There's some matchups where Miracles has time to draw out of. They get some awkward opening hands.
Yeah.
Dead ends and weird situational cards and Miracles they can't really cast. Esper Deathblade really punishes you for those kind of opens because they can attack your hand with discard, play threats that require immediate answers, and still play with you in the long game.
Flooded Strand is where Smith started. Shvachkin's got a Polluted Delta and Arid Maze, so it's just a couple of lands on both sides. Smith will sacrifice his Flooded Strand, it appears. He's going to go down to 19.
Remember, the dynamic of the matchup changes entirely post-board because Erik has to be concerned at all times with Blood Moon. So even something like turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic in this spot, if Erik doesn't have Force of Will, can get him killed.
Yep.
So he has to play the game entirely differently.
Blood Moon is the big problem. And you might be wondering, does Erik Smith have any basics? No.
No,
he does not.
Yeah, typically the old Savannah Underground Sea mana base is not able to fit in an island as well.
Probably can't fit one of those, no.
And if anything, Erik would want a forest and a swamp so he could still cast Abrupt Decay. Really hard to squeeze in a forest and a swamp.
And the card he really wants to draw, of course, is Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
So he can operate underneath the Blood Moon at least a little bit.
But with Shvachkin having Terminus and Source of Plowshares in the deck, if that comes up, great, but that can't be the plan.
Yeah.
He's just got to prevent it from entering play or generate such an overwhelming advantage on the board that even if Blood Moon shows up, he can still win. The second thing's very hard to do.
Mr. Rainforest is land number 2 here for Smith. And he'll just pass the turn back. Nothing to do on his second turn of the game. And what's different about this game is that Smith is just going to have to be very cautious the entire time because he's always just going to be respecting and be worried about Blood Moon.
Yes, he has to play very passively here.
Now, the question, of course, is do you just play the game where it's like, if you have Blood Moon, you have Blood Moon. But it's hard to do that because if he has Blood Moon, he just immediately loses.
Yes.
He can't function. So just trying to go over the top of it and hope your opponent doesn't draw it is definitely a strategy we see people make, but in this instance, he can't cast spells then.
Also, Shvachkin might be pretty conservative with how he deploys his Blood Moon into open mana. Because it is a game-winning play in most spots, Shvachkin is not going to want to just, all right, here it is on turn 3, and if you have Abrupt Decay or a counter spell, there it resolves. So as long as Smith holds up mana, Shvachkin does have an incentive to try to find other things to do to soften Smith up to clear the path for Blood Moon.
Smith's going to play a Stoneforge Mystic. Looks like Shvachkin might be casting a Brainstorm in response. They're going to check a little something here. It's unclear as to what, but when we do find out exactly what the table judge and the head judge are discussing, we will certainly let you know. We do have a quick update here for you guys. Yeah, well, we're gonna hop back. We're gonna hop back to the booth really quick while we do figure this out. But Alex Pastecki, our Grixis Delver player, does win game number 1 here over Matthew Long, who is playing blue-red Delver. Again, it's I think that matchup is pretty close. One side you've got Young Pyromancer, the other you don't. But on the blue-red Delver side, you have Trinity Nemesis, which is a trump card in the matchup. I like Grixis Delver in that matchup, but I do think it's pretty close on both sides.
There's a lot of the same cards, and when you're comparing what are the lights out cards in the matchup. Young Pyromancer on one side of the table versus True Name Nemesis. Now, Young Pyromancer is a lot easier to kill, so it's not guaranteed to win the game, but uncontested, it generates an overwhelming advantage pretty fast. In the Delver matchups, I typically look at what card is cheaper. Because of Daze and Wasteland, there's no guarantee your 3-mana spells resolve.
Yep.
It's especially the case in the Teamer Delver matchups where I assume True Name Nemesis is the trump card, right? Not really the case because no one gets the 3 mana. Or if you get a 3 mana, you've already won the game.
Yep.
The Grixis and blue-red versions of the deck aren't quite that extreme because there's no stifles involved, but it's still much of the same problem between, Red Blast and Flusterstorms and Dazes and Wastelands. 3 mana spells can be pretty challenging to resolve. So I like the deck that has the most powerful spells in the matchup that are 2 mana or less, and so I give the nod to the deck with Young Pyromancer in it.
Understandable. Well, it looks like... Aha, okay. So, these players are shuffling up here for game number 3. And we can tell you why. Erik Smith mispresented his deck. 59 cards. Not a good time to do that.
Pretty impressive for the judge involved to be able to find that out.
Yeah, I guess just counted the sideboard.
Okay.
There you go. So, this is a large misstep for Erik at this point.
I did not know that the judge counted the sideboard. I thought the judge could just look at the deck, know it was 59 cards.
Just a sniper. Boom.
Boom.
59. I'm positive.
Yes.
So, as we're going to get ready for game number 3 now, as we're accelerating our way through the quarterfinals.
Even faster than game 1.
Yeah, so very impressive, I must say. a situation here for Smith, which is obviously unfortunate for him making that mistake, and I'm sure many Magic players have made it before, though not in this sort of high leverage situation. Just got to recompose. You're ready to go again for game number 3. I think that's all you can do.
Yeah, you gotta. The game's done with. There's nothing to be gained here.
Yeah.
Count your sideboard next time.
And move on.
And then move on.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's also a surprising mistake to make in this kind of spot, because usually when you're testing your matchup the night before, you're getting as many games as possible, you usually have a very good sense of how you're sideboarding. You know what cards you're bringing in, you know what cards you're bringing out. Presenting 59 cards in round 5 of the Swiss, I think that happens more often than people know, just on accident. But here it is a little surprising, just because you usually are, these 7 are in, these 7 are out. You know exactly what you're doing. Maybe it changes on play or draw, but in any case, nothing for Smith to do about it now. Just got to shake it off, move to the next one.
Well, he gets to play first. We're looking for positives.
Smith can just imagine that he was locked by Blood Moon.
Boom.
He cast Stoneforge Mystic. Shvachkin untapped and cast Blood Moon. Smith had no counter, and now we're going on to game 3 just as easily.
Smith got him to 1 with the Stoneforge Mystic because Shvachkin couldn't find an answer. Then he found an answer, and then that was it. See, there's your narrative for game 2.
Right. A close one.
Yeah. Just couldn't quite get there. You do see the sideboards available here for both players. We keep talking about Blood Moon because it is an A+ against Smith's deck if it is on the battlefield for Shvachkin. Smith has got to make sure that that just never happens, and Smith has got some real haymakers here in Sylvan Library, Abrupt Decay, another copy of Jace, so.
And being on the play is a huge deal for Smith. In these matchups, often play versus draw, the slow control matchups, it matters, but not a lot. On Smith's side, it does matter a lot because he has threats like Stoneforge Mystic that he really wants to tap out for early on in the game. And on the draw, he can't really tap out for Stoneforge Mystic without incurring a huge risk. On the play, it's safe because Shvachkin can't hammer a Blood Moon in that spot while Smith is tapped out.
They're both happy. Deathrite Shaman is where Smith will begin, and it's a great place to start in this matchup. He'll need some fetch lands, of course, but got to be happy with starting there. Here's a Sensei's Divine Top for Shvachkin. Smith with no force of will. So that's in. Looks like Smith may have a Thoughtseize to cast, and he does. So we'll get a good look at Shvachkin's hand. There's at least a Council's Judgment over there. Along with a counterbalance, a Terminus, and a couple of lands. Volcanic Island, Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand.
I'm assuming we're just going to be removing the counterbalance here.
Yeah, break up the combo. I mean, Council's Judgment is a little bit annoying, but slow answer to things.
I mean, I suppose there's an argument for taking Council's Judgment if you have Abrupt Decay, but it feels like the Abrupt Decays are on Blood Moon detail.
Yeah.
You don't want to just give that up if you can avoid it.
Smith does have a Wasteland in hand, though I imagine he kind of wants to sandbag that a little bit.
Yep. Especially seeing a hand on the other side of the table where there's a non-basic land in the Volcanic Island. You would prefer to conceal that information if you can.
Smith will sacrifice a Flooded Strand, go down a little bit lower to 17. And there is a Scrubland.
Got it.
Thank you. I would be upset about the fact that they look so alike, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Art direction was a little bit different.
Yeah, what can you do? Here's another copy of Deathrite Shaman. First one's coming across. And pass that turn back. See, now there's your Scrubland.
Right.
Is that one? That looks like a land. Now Savannah, basically the same card. They're basically the same card.
Different artists, interestingly enough. I would assume that the same artist was responsible for both
I actually
pieces.
didn't know that. From a distance, they do look like the same card. Shvachkin spins the top on upkeep to ensure that he draws a Brainstorm.
We rarely see this confusion in Legacy because typically your deck can't possibly win if it contains both Scrubland and Savannah.
Yeah, it's combo deck.
Right, but now we're here, so this is coming up.
Yeah. The old Savannah, Scrubland, no blue card strategy.
Yep.
not really a great one in Legacy.
I'm trying to play with Sylvan Safekeeper and Tide Hollow Sculler. All right, you can never win.
That's
Glad we got that out of the way.
That's just the harsh reality. The Dark Maverick fans are blowing you up on Twitter right now. All four of them.
All 0 of you.
Yeah. Here's an Underground Sea. There's Snapcaster Mage, maybe. Yes. We might have attempted a Thoughtseize here in just a moment. Shvachkin might respond. He'll respond to the Thoughtseize, it appears. And he'll do that by cracking his Polluted Delta. Now, he does have Brainstorm in hand, as well as a copy of Terminus, so it looks like that's what he's probably trying to set up.
Yeah. At this point now, with Erik having deployed a lot of creatures to the table, really good setup for Terminus.
That is a non-basic for his Wasteland to hit, so that's certainly nice. And here's Brainstorm, so 3 cards coming here for Shvachkin. 2 will have to go back, and you have to imagine one of it's going to be Terminus, as he picked up a couple of lands there off of the Brainstorm. Looks like 2 Tundras and a Karakas. There's the Grip. Well, write all those lands down, I guess. 2 Tundras, Karakas, Volcanic Island, Flooded Strand. Brainstorm doing a great job against that Thoughtseize. And what's tough here, if you're Smith, is you'd be dead to Blood Moon right now, it appears.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily dead, because he does have the Death Rights in play, but it would be really bad news.
It would be pretty bad news.
He could still cast an Abrupt Decay. There's 2 lands in the graveyard, so.
Well, Terminus isn't good news either, and that just showed up. There's a 4th land for Smith, and he'll just pass the turn back. Shvachkin gonna start spinning that top, start doing what Miracles does. He'll untap and take a draw step. Copy Polluted Delta added to the Grip.
And this is a really good spot for Shvachkin to be in. His hand is immune from being attacked because it's all lands, but he wants more mana because he's got expensive things to do. Divining Top in play, plenty of ways to shuffle the deck, no pressure on the other side of the table.
Smith has nothing going on. He's got 5 lands on the battlefield, and I believe 2 lands in hand. A Wasteland and a Tropical Island, so his hand certainly stinks. And Shvachkin is purposely making his hand bad because he's floating the good cards on top of his deck. Wear Tear the draw here for Gabe. Smith, I think, may have just drawn another land. Yep, another Polluted Delta. Shvachkin gonna spin the top.
The other thing here is, with nothing going on the Smith side of the table, is Shvachkin draws Blood Moon, he might just let it rip, see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of counter spells, and Smith, again, is beat if that happens.
Council's Judgment the draw here for Gabe. There's Volcanic Island. Smith will draw. Can he find something that does something? He's tapping mana. Liliana. All right. It's better than nothing.
But Shvachkin's very well set up to handle this. Besides the Council's Judgment, he's the one with the resource advantage and Divining Top in play.
Tropical Island, the discard there for Smith. Karakas, the discard for Shvachkin. Gabe, think about drawing a card with top. Maybe Entreat the Angels? Okay. They'll sacrifice the Flooded Strand to help pay for it.
Even willing to give up the top here.
Yeah.
This is a very bold move because if Smith counters this, now Shvachkin's way behind.
It is a little risque. Look at Shvachkin's going to do it for 2 to try to play around Spell Pierce. Might do it for more, though. It could go for the knockout punch, but it looks like it's just going to be for 2. So 2 Angel tokens on the way. Now Shvachkin will draw a card. Going to come across for 8. It looks like he'll come across for 4 and then take down Liliana, too. So
I think everything's going at Liliana there in case Smith has Swords to Plowshares.
Sure.
Wants to make sure that Liliana is taken care of.
well, here's Chase the Mind Sculptor.
It's a good replacement for Sensei's Divining Top.
I've seen worse. Fate Seal You. crack a fetch line on Will Smith. He's going to go down to 10. You saw him take a quick look. He's got to know.
Yeah.
Smith in some real trouble now.
A little surprised for Shvachkin there to be fate sealing Smith, given all the fetch lands in play. I don't mind Shvachkin fate sealing himself. Just scry a little bit and.
I would have preferred fate seal myself or brainstorm. I don't like fate sealing Smith there because there are 3 fetch lands.
Just so many fetch lands in play.
Yep.
If there's only one and the next turn you start really locking him, that's different, but it's not where we're at.
Stoneforge Mystic. Shvachkin's got that covered multiple ways. Has a Jace that can bounce it, has got a Wear Tear, and a Council's Judgment in hand. So he does not care about the 1/2 core Artificer at all. There's a Batter Skull.
He also just has lethal over the next couple turns, too. A lot of ways to cover it.
Smith will pass the turn back over to Shvachkin. Shvachkin's drawing. Didn't get a great look. May have been a Vendilion click. Blue card nonetheless. Now it's time to fate seal again. Well, Smith will fetch a land out. Go down to 1. But I think this will be his last draw step of this particular game. Jace and these Angel tokens, a little bit too much for Erik to overcome. Yeah, he is done for. So, Gabriel Shvachkin's going to win game number 3 here over Erik Smith. Miracles and Esper Deathblade are going to get ready for game number 4. And it may not be the marathon match that we predicted.
No, I mean, we are cruising right along here. Only 41 minutes into the round. May have time to go to our backup match.
Yeah. That backup match again is Alex Bistecki playing Grixis Delver against Matthew Long playing Blue Red Delver. They are in game number 2. Bistecki with Grixis Delver currently up a game over Long and his Blue Red Delver deck.
And that's a disheartening loss there for Smith because it didn't even involve Blood Moon.
Yeah.
I mean, Shvachkin just kind of beat him.
Yeah, Erik didn't really do much of anything. A couple Deathrite Shaman to Snapcaster Mage and 2 copies of Thoughtseize, and that was really it.
You know, when Shvachkin has Sensei's Divining Top, cards like Thoughtseize lose a lot of their impact. Shvachkin can do a lot to make sure that he's manipulating his draws in such a way where his best cards are not exposed to discard and he casts everything on time. And when that's going on, the Thoughtseize is for as good as they look when Shvachkin doesn't have Divining Top in play. They become a lot more beatable from Shvachkin's side of the table.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up here for game number 4. And while they do so, it is a brand new day. Yes, it is. So we are going to see a brand new special here. 15% off promo basic lands.
A mixture of, game day foils and judge promos and so forth, all available. 15% off right now, SCGINVI.com. Check it out today. Remember, summer sales going on, 11 a.m. Eastern time every day. New sale goes up, limited time only. Go ahead and check it out now.
Pretty awesome stuff, as Patrick did mention. Now, Patrick, don't you dare be sour. Feel the power of new lands coming out from Battle Zendikar.
Yep.
Did you see that yesterday?
I did.
Now, okay, so here's the question. Are you a full art land guy?
I can get behind them. They're not my first choice, but I think they look good.
All right. Just want to make sure, because they got some sweet lands coming out of that set. If you guys did not see the packed release that took place yesterday, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yep.
Are those cards awesome? Hopefully we'll have some time to go over some of that stuff today if we've got some downtime in between rounds or stuff like that. But wow, wow, wow. Am I excited for it? I was already a big Zendikar fan anyway. But I am pretty hyped.
If you were looking for a lot in the way of, mechanics and themes, don't hold your breath. But if you just like seeing a lot of cool stuff that's coming back as reprints and so forth, you will like the PAX announcement.
We'll take a look at the brackets here for you guys very quickly. You see Erik Smith and Gabriel Shvachkin. They're playing right now. That's our 1 versus 8. Alex Bistecki, Matthew Long. That's our backup match, and we'd have time to jump over there, which we think we might. Bistecki currently up a game. But this is the first half of the quarterfinals. The second half, well, that's got Jeffrey Breivstein. He's on number 3 overall seed against Steve Mann, the Florida native, former Players Championship competitor. He's playing Sultai Delver, and then G-Fabs himself, Gerard Fabiano, playing his good friend Joshua Taylor. That's Blue Red Delver. That's Grixis Delver, 2 versus 7.
A lot of good matchups, a lot of blue. A lot of blue. The color blue.
The color blue is very powerful.
Still very good in Legacy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we hope you're ready for as many brainstorms as you can handle. Now, oddly enough, Jeffrey's deck is the real interesting one to me. A Merfolk strategy in this blue meta game.
Pretty good tournament for Island Walk.
Yeah.
A lot of blue decks trying to block.
I might like that being a thing. You know, I don't think that Merfolk is the most powerful thing you can be doing in Legacy, but maybe for this particular tournament, pretty good spot to be in.
Decks have as advocates. Made the top 8 at an Invitational a couple of years back. I believe the one that Todd Anderson won in the hands of Benjamin Lundquist.
Yes.
Upended by Brian Bronduin. I was on the rail for that one.
Looks like these players are not happy with what they've seen, so some more shuffling here will take place. You know what? While these guys shuffle, I think we got a little Battle of Zendikar spoiler we can take a look at. Maybe the old Gideon. Maybe the old Gideon, who knows? Now, you're the one who told me about this. I didn't even know this was a thing. I missed it on Twitter yesterday.
Yep.
But the new Gideon is, well, it's pretty sweet. The ally of Zendikar. Now, this is honestly I think the second time you and I have both seen this. I saw this last night before I went to sleep, but 4 mana 4 loyalty. Until end of turn, you plus it. Gideon becomes a 5/5 human soldier ally creature with indestructible. It's still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. It's pretty basic for like all Gideons. They always turn to a creature that can give the beatdowns. The 0 ability, you put a 2/2 white knight ally creature token on the battlefield. That text of ally is pretty important there because there are allies in Zendikar. There were in the first one, there are in this one. And then the -4, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+1. So Glorious Anthem effect.
Yep. Indestructible Glorious Anthem, basically.
That's true. That's true.
And there's a nice split here between the plus power and the 0 power because one's very good in control matchups and one's very good against other creature decks.
Yeah.
You need blockers to protect Gideon. You can just crank out some 2/2s. Your opponent's playing with a lot of sweepers and so forth. You can just be chipping in with an indestructible creature. And the ultimate there, you can just do right away. You can also just get in the spots where you go, plus Gideon attack. Next turn, make an Anthem, Gideon still in play. A lot of just very powerful, straightforward sequences you can generate with that card.
I'd be surprised if that card's not very good.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised. Here's a Thoughtseize from Smith. Sensei's Divine top Snapcaster Mage. Let's make it 2 Snapcaster Mages. A Pyroblast, a couple of lands here in Arid Mesa and Volcanic Island. I think top is a good selection. Let's get that out of here. And Arid Mesa, pass the turn back over to Smith. Force will to draw here for Erik. Here's a Deathrite Shaman. Misty Rainforest was the land. Monastery Mentor is the draw. You had a feeling it was going to come in.
Yeah, Shvachkin's hand is under attack in this matchup, and Smith does have a couple counter spells. So it's important for Shvachkin to have a lot of individual cards that can do heavy lifting, things like the Dillion Click, Snapcaster Mage, and Monastery Mentor fits the bill as well.
Looks like Smith might be wanting to fire off that Wasteland, and I approve of this play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you clearly do too.
Yeah. You don't know what he's going to do with that land.
Maybe cast a spell with it?
Yeah, and you don't know what that spell can be either.
So you might as well just kill it.
Yep.
Here's a Stoneforge Mystic.
Oh, happy days.
Looks like Smith's going to search for the Savannah. Got it. Are you a fan of the Savannah Underground Sea mana base?
Love it. Also in this matchup, I do have to regularly check to make sure that the dual lands Erik is getting via the fetch lands are legal because he has some dual lands he can't get with some of his fetches.
Yep. But Misty Rainforest for Savannah checks out.
Well, but you can't Misty Rainforest for the scrub land, for example.
Correct.
So I gotta be on the ball here.
Yep. Smith will draw. Batterskull in hand. Shvachkin stuck on only one land. Very good Wasteland for him.
Yep.
It's almost Batterskull time. You saw Smith come across with Deathrite Shaman. Shvachkin a little bit frustrated. Swords to Plowshares the draw.
Right on time.
Yep.
And the issue here is, if he fetches for a Plains, then he's off of blue. If he fetches for a Tundra, then a second Wasteland definitely beats him.
Yep. There's Batterskull. Germ token on the way. Smith will draw a copy of Brainstorm. Some very weird games we have watched here. Here is a Brainstorm for Smith. He'll draw 3, have to put 2 back. Flooded Strand is 1, Force Will is 2, Flooded Strand is 3. Looks like Swords of Plowshares is going to go back. Looks like Smith may have a copy of True Nemesis in hand, too. But if he can keep double force, double blue card, he is probably in the driver's seat.
Yeah, he can even, you know, if this germ gets hit with Swords of Plowshares, which seems likely, he can also simply, you know, keep the True Name Nemesis, cast that, and have Force of Will back up, which is probably good enough here.
Well, Shvachkin did draw a land. It's a Plains. That's helpful. That's at least a start. Smith will sacrifice his Flooded Strand. That'll help him shuffle away from the Brainstorm. Underground Seed, Deathrite Shaman activation. Shvachkin going to go a little bit lower.
Interesting that Shvachkin last turn didn't use the Source of Plowshares on anything. I wonder if he feels like he's in Terminus or Bust territory already.
Smith will draw. Swords of Plowshare still in hand. Looks like Deathrite Shaman is going to activate. There's Umezawa Shite. We're making a big move now.
A little surprised that Shite is still in the deck, but if Shvachkin is bringing in cards like Vendilion Click and Monastery Mentor, the card does get a little bit better.
Yeah, if you're expecting creatures on the other side. I don't love the equip there, the Germ Token. I kind of want to split them up.
Yeah, make it so you're either hitting for the most amount of damage or getting counters on your Jite.
Yeah. Would have rather seen Erik put that Umezawa Shite on the Stoneforge Mystic. Because now he's got to dedicate mana to equipping it again next turn.
Umezawa's Jite also might be a bit of a hedge here for Smith, as it's something that gives him a shot to win if he's locked by Blood Moon.
Okay, then...
There's a lot of small...
In that regard, I can see leaving it in.
Yeah, there's a lot of small considerations. I think Monastery Mentor plus Blood Moon is enough to change the equation. Because game 1, it's among his worst cards.
Yep.
But I think it gets a little bit better for him post-board.
There's an equip and a beatdown. Smith will pass the turn back. Deathrite Shaman at the ready to activate. Shvachkin down to 9. Getting very close to being dead. Source of Plowshares will be removed. Deathrite Shaman will bring Shvachkin down to 7. Gabe will draw to copy a Tundra. He needs land, he needs Terminus, he needs a lot of different things right now.
But now, even Blood Moon is not good enough, because Shvachkin is losing to the board.
Yep. That's the thing about Blood Moon. It is very, very good in this matchup, but it is a little bit time sensitive.
Normally, that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, when you play against decks like Temur Delver, for example, they can amass a really significant board before you lock them with Blood Moon. That's rare to happen here. I mean, we played a game that went on for many, many turns. But eventually, Smith does get some stuff into play. And you do need to get Blood Moon into play ahead of that. Shvachkin couldn't do it that game.
Well, he got some stuff into play and was able to get the job done. So Erik Smith, Gabriel Shvachkin, they're all tied up 2-2. One game left to go here in this quarterfinal match between Esper Deathblade and Miracles. So, we'll take a look at the sideboards here one more time because Erik is going back to the drawing board. It looks like Gabriel will be as well. And, you know, there's Jace, there's Abrupt Decay. And a bevy of other options here for both players. But Blood Moon hasn't shown up yet.
No. Gabriel, you know, in the post-board game so far, we've seen them split a pair of games kind of straight up. I mean, that game was not great for Shvachkin, but Wasteland is in the deck for a reason. Shvachkin did win one of the games straight up, and then there was the game lost in game 2 for Smith. So it has not reared its head yet, but Shvachkin has been able to pick up a post-board game legit without the need of Blood Moon. And with him on the play, it makes the threat of him firing off a Blood Moon much, much riskier on Smith's side of the table. And again, a lot of his cards get much more dangerous to play. Stoneforge Mystic in particular, great on the play on turn 2, much, much riskier on the draw for Smith.
Well, Shvachkin will be on the play here for game number 5, the most important of them all. These players are getting ready to go. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news, and it is free to sign up for.
Yeah, all the best from Star City Games, cultivated by Cedric Phillips here. You get the best information about what's going on the Open Series, including a match of the week, exclusive deck lists, and advice from some of your favorite premium columnists, an exclusive cardboard crack comic, and best of all, signing up is free over at starcitygames.com/newsletter.
You'll be able to find the results of this tournament. Match of the week will likely be from this tournament as well, so definitely sign on up, starcitygames.com/newsletter. And as we like to say, you're going to be on the internet anyway.
Right. You're already doing nothing.
Yeah.
Idling around, YouTube videos.
Pictures of cats.
Yep. Listening to music.
So just take the 5 minutes.
It's way less than 5 minutes.
All right, take the 3 minutes.
If it takes you 5 minutes to register, there's nothing for you to do with a newsletter anyway.
So now you're pushing people away.
Bring
them back in.
.com/newsletter. There's a lot of stuff there.
See, they're back now. Perfect.
Information.
That's the script in front of them.
Various, information, links to things, I assume. StarCityGames.com.
We're going to have to rewrite that script.
Listen.
We're going to have to rewrite that script a little bit. There's some holes there. Could be a little bit more streamlined.
And you want me promoting the products, I'll fire in good faith once. You ask me to come back, it starts getting worse and worse.
Like I said, we're going to work on that script. Work on that contract.
Don't ask me twice.
Okay? I'm going to keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind.
Do not ask me twice.
For future promotional work.
This is a product that exists. Here is the URL. .com. So anyhow.
Shvachkin on the play.
Yep.
Sensei's Divine Top, a great place to start, obviously.
Yep.
But these games have been weird. He's never really gotten a stranglehold on any of the games, right? There's the one mishap with Erik in the sideboarding, and then the game where Erik lost, where they played, Erik just didn't really do anything. So we haven't really seen much of a miracles game. We
got to see what Sensei's Divine Top can do for Shvachkin in the matchup, which is really blunt the impact of Erik's discard spells. And that's one of the best weapons he brings to the table. The Thought Seizes are disastrous for Shvachkin when he does not have Divine Top, because his hands are going to be a little disorganized. He's going to have random miracle cards and stuff like that hanging out there, and a lot of his hands are only going to have one premium card. And information is very valuable for Smith as well in the order in which he deploys his threats. But with Divining Top, he can play very effectively off the top of his deck. There was a spot where his hand was literally all lands after a Thoughtseize, but he had Divining Top and was very easily able to generate enough resources to win.
Well, both these players are going to get ready to take a look at the openers. Looks like Smith is happy with his, Shvachkin unhappy with his, so. Going to go a little bit lower. Will Gabe. Again, our other match, and it looks like we're going to have plenty of time to jump that way. Matthew Long, Alex Bistecki. They're still in game number 2.
Oh.
So we are not going anywhere. As Grixis Delver by Alex Bistecki is up a game. And it appears in game number 2, he has written a note to himself that says no more fetches, which leads me to believe perhaps he's won life. We will find out soon enough. We expected this one to be the long one.
I know, we're looking at 5 games done in an hour and change.
Yeah, for miracles, that's impressive.
Yeah. Plenty of time to go over to the Delver matches.
Yeah, it's not like Esper Deathblade is particularly fast either.
No. Although it's, for a blue deck with counterspells and Jason, it's proactive.
Well, it's an aggressive blue deck.
It's not sitting on its heels all day long, and you have cards like Deathrite Shaman that can speed up the clock, and I think it gets a bad rap. I think the deck is faster than it gets credit for. The mirror matches of Esper Deathblade can be excruciating, but Esper Deathblade against a normal deck it's not like the deck takes that long to win or lose.
Shvachkin happy enough. We're underway here in game number 5. Winner of this plays against the winner of Matthew Long and Alex Bistecki. One step closer to $10,000. They're like this on a card, and invite to our Players' Championship. Arid Mesa is where Shvachkin did begin. Here's a Flooded Strand. There's a Flooded Strand there for Smith. And now it's a Stoneforge Mystic.
I have to imagine Erik has Force of Will plus blue card in hand.
You don't think he'd tap out for this?
I think it's very unlikely.
Sure. I think that, you can reason with yourself as a player of just saying, if you have one of your 2 Blood Moons, good for you. You win.
Yep.
But he does have Force of Will in his hand, and it appears a blue card. Counterbalance the draw. Shvachkin sacrificing those 2 fetch lands very quickly. It looks like he's basic hunting. Yep. But none of those are red sources of mana, so no Blood Moon on the way. There's 3 mana. Vendilion Click, looking to go after that Batter Skull.
Most likely.
Looks like Erik might fight over this. Force of Will. Smith gonna have to take 1 to cast it. The question is, what card is he gonna remove? He's got some options as he does shuffle him back and forth. It looks like Vendilion Click has been countered.
And Smith can be fairly aggressive using the Force of Will in that spot because that was a great window for Shvachkin to try to stick Blood Moon if he had it. So he probably doesn't have it in the hand.
I like Smith activating Stoneforge Mystic right now in case there's another Vendilion Click, though this does get a little bit dicey because of a card like Wear and Tear and Council's Judgment. So there's some upside, there's some downside to this.
Yep. It's really only Council's Judgment that's the swing card because Wear Tear is going to get you regardless.
Yeah, sure.
And there's 1 Wear Tear and 1 Click left in the deck, so.
And Erik Smith had to pitch his own Vendilion Click to that Force of Will. So that's no longer an option for him. Red mana is here for Shvachkin. And now here's Monastery Mentor. Brainstorm for Smith on the end step. That'll resolve. So Force of Will, Brainstorm, and Source of Plowshares added to Erik's hand. Pretty good.
Yep. Definitely wants to hunt for answers to the Mentor because this is a card that can run away with the game uncontested. I actually don't think Shvachkin's hand's very good at capitalizing on it at the moment. I think he's looking at lands and a Snapcaster Mage with nothing to do with it, but still, Smith doesn't know that.
Yeah, I'd still be perfectly fine getting that thing off the battlefield. That's exactly what Erik's going to do. Mentor will have to be removed from the graveyard there for Shvachkin. Of course, Swords to Plowshares, does exile, and you don't want to have that work in a dig through time. Shvachkin will draw. Volcanic Island, Sensei's Divining Top is the draw for the turn. Now we know that Smith did just see a Force of Will in that Brainstorm. It's unclear if he's added to his hand or he's left it on top of his deck, but it looks like he does have Force of Will and Brainstorm in hand. He's going to sacrifice the Arid Mason. Maybe cast a Brainstorm here, get a fresh look at some cards, as there's an Underground Sea. Yep, here's a Brainstorm. 3 fresh ones coming here for Smith. Pluto Delta's 1. Doesn't look like any blue cards there, though. So maybe top is resolving, maybe not. And there it goes to the Force of Will. Now here's Counterbalance. Smith had to remove True Name that time. Now we have a dig through time for Erik Smith. Gonna leave Brainstorm in the graveyard. Sensei's Divine Top is the reveal. Dig through time will resolve. So Smith will take a look at the top 7. Get to take 2 with him. To me, Erik Smith is ahead right now, but not by much.
Things could still get broken up here. And Blood Moon, in concert with some removal spells or Terminus, Shvachkin can go from on the ropes to having Erik locked very fast.
Yeah. Now, one of the cards that Erik was able to find in this dig through time is a pithing needle, which I would have some interest in, but the problem here is that if he casts it, it gets countered by counterbalance.
Right, needle's off the table here.
Yeah.
You know, he can't cast it right now, nor can he cast it after the fact.
Yeah, so that's the big problem there. Alex Wistecki, with his no fetch paper, does win game number 2. So he is up 2-0 right now over Matthew Long. Grixis Delver up 2-0 over Blue Red Delver. So we'll be heading to game number 3, I presume, in just a bit over there. There's the top. So the soft lock is in play. It's not a hard lock at this point because, well, Smith has things on the table.
I'm a little surprised Shvachkin wouldn't go ahead and just use the top right away. Because if counterbalance is in the top 3, I would strongly consider just, if Blood Moon's in the top 3, I would strongly consider just putting it into play.
Just slamming on down, sure. Well, here's an attack for 5. Shvachkin's gonna have to take 5. All right. Caracas the draw. And I believe Gabriel on top of his deck has a copy of Entreat the Angels.
Yep.
And so that's the big plan here. Yeah. Smith, shrug his shoulders, try to attack for lethal. Activate top. Here's Entreat. Is this going to resolve? How much is Shvachkin going to do it for, and is it going to resolve? That's the question. X is 2.
Still playing around Spell Pierce here.
This could be really bad news for Erik Smith.
I suppose Flusterstorm as well could be on the radar.
Yep. Just some sort of tax and counter spell.
Yep. The other side of it is 2 Angels may not be enough to get it done here.
Yeah. However, here are 2 Angels. There are your blocks.
I suppose in the sequence he doesn't have to worry about Source to Plowshares because he's still got the Divining Top on top of the deck.
Yep. So 1-mana spells are not going to be very impressive. Stoneforge Mystic here. That's going to resolve. Smith's going to go grab that Jite. Erik knows he's got more work to do. He was close.
And on Shvachkin's side of the table, now Blood Moon, while still very powerful, isn't enough to win the game on its own. Erik can just move the Battered Skull onto the Stoneforge Mystic, use Umezawa's Jite, win that way. But if you find something like Wear Tear alongside Blood Moon, again, Shvachkin can flip this game around very fast.
Smith will sacrifice blue to Delta. We'll get a tropical island off the fetch.
A little pause there just to make sure that that was legal to get.
Clear for takeoff.
Yep.
Shvachkin working on very few resources. But we're in the draw step here with the Snapcaster Mage. Pyroblast is the card that was revealed to Snapcaster Mage. Erik targeting Brainstorm with the Snapcaster Mage, but that's going to be hard to resolve now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Technically, Gabriel did know that was a Pyroblast. Probably would have preferred not to reveal it.
So there's the top being paid for via Caracas. Pass the turn back. Smith, of course, not going to flash back the Brainstorm because he knows there's a 1 on top.
Right.
Shvachkin would have to miss the counterbalance trigger. He'd have to miss a lot for that to work. Doesn't seem worth the attempt. Might be able to use that Brainstorm in the graveyard down the road for dig through time or another Snapcaster Mage. Smith going to attempt to equip Batterskull. Looks like that's going to work.
And there's a lot of really good ones here for Shvachkin. This would be an insane opportunity for wear tear.
Yeah. Terminus isn't bad either. He can clean up everything. That's what he's going to attempt to do. Draw a card, cast a Terminus. All the creatures will go to the bottom of the deck.
He's getting a lot of breathing space here.
Yep.
Again, Erik is definitely not beat here, but Gabriel's getting some breathing space here to activate this Divining Top a bunch.
This feels a lot more like Miracles.
Erik came really close to getting to the finish line here.
Here's Liliana. He can still get to it, but boy, is it going to be tough. Shvachkin will spin top, counterbalance trigger on the stack. No 3-mana spell there. 2 counterbalances and a Pyroblast. But Liliana's not the end-all be-all right now. It's fine, but it's not anything special, really.
Yeah.
One of the more mediocre Lilianas you're going to find. Here's a Snapcaster Mage in response to Liliana. Smith will discard Deathrite. Shaman knows he can't cast that. Here's Stoneforge Mystic. Now, there is a 2 up there for Shvachkin. It's counterbalance. See you later, Stoneforge.
And now Shvachkin is empty-handed.
Yep.
But with Divining Top in play, that's not a bad spot to be in.
2 counterbalances, Pyroblast. We'll see which card Gabe wants to draw for his turn. He'll leave Pyroblast on top of the deck, so that's going to be the draw. 2 counterbalances on top of the deck right now, and the 3rd card down is a mystery. Snapcaster Mage will attack. Liliana going to go down to 2. To Smith we go. Can Erik cross the finish line here? He's going to start with a dig through time, which is bad news for him. Now Shvachkin's going to start by spinning top. Monastery Mentor is going to go on top of the deck, but here's a Pyroblast in just a moment, because you can't let dig resolve.
Not in this spot.
Yep. And I think Erik realizes maybe I was better off activating my Liliana first.
The thing is, it's just not. So he knew that the Pyroblast was floating there. I think Erik just felt there's no way he would have drawn a Pyroblast. It's so powerful for him to have Pyroblast floating amongst his top 3 cards, something he can get at a moment's notice, that he just didn't believe that that could have been the card that Gabriel put in his hand.
Sure. Batterskull's going to come back. Smith's going to recast it. He's hoping it resolves. It's a way for him to try to win. He knows he's in some serious trouble. You can see the body language right now.
Yep. It was looking real good for him.
So Batterskull's in. Shvachkin is going to draw a card with top. He's going to get ready to play top again. Yeah, no token yet, because you haven't cast the top yet. Because that's the thing that you can do with this deck is, end of turn, draw the top, and do your thing. So we know what he's trying to set up. He's getting a little ahead of himself, but here's a Brainstorm.
And from this spot, if Gabriel, for example, finds a second copy of Sensei's Divining Top,
oh, super happy fun time.
He starts going off, and not even Batterskull is going to be able to erase that sort of setup.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, Smith is at 31, but that setup with Monastery Mentor and those tops doesn't matter what you're at.
And there are just so many draws now in Gabriel's deck that are going to be hard for Erik to beat. Wear Tear, Council's Judgment. I still think Blood Moon is going to be hard for Erik to get out of this spot, even though he has Batterskull in play.
Here's a top. Another monk on the way. Some prowess triggers. Mentor's a 4/4. The active monk is a 3/3. Shvachkin just going to pass the turn. The sleeper hold is coming in. Here's Brainstorm. Trigger. Take a look. Smith is trying to set up GT. He's hoping that Shvachkin doesn't have a 1 on top. He's got a 1 on top. It's Sensei's Divining Top.
And that's a really bad one for Erik to see here.
Here's GT. Yep, and you can see Erik Smith is very frustrated right now with how this game has gone. There's a 2.
And that second top means now Monastery Mentor gets to go nuts next turn.
Smith will pass the turn back.
Might
He'll
as well
attack first, yeah.
No prowess triggers coming from Shvachkin's side of the table,
Yep.
so it's free to attack there.
I think Shvachkin just put the top back on top of the deck. Smith is up to 35. You see the light totals here, 35-5. Gabe will draw a card. So swords and top in hand.
And Smith does not have enough mana here to bring the Batter's Call back to his hand and recast next turn. So Gabriel's got 2 clean turns of being able to go off with Monastery Mentor here, and that may be all the time he needs to set up a kill, even with Erik at 39 life.
There's top. That's going to bring a monk token. And I think he knows his next card down is top.
Erik got so close.
There's top again. So every time he does this, he's going to get prowess triggers and a monk for every mana that he pays. And that is going to do it. Gabriel Shvachkin's going to win this match here over Erik Smith. 3-2. Good friends do battle, but only one can walk away the winner, and it's our Miracles player. It's our number 8 overall seed, knocking out the former Invitational champion.
Congratulations to Gabriel Shvachkin. Also, congratulations to Erik Smith on a great tournament. Ran through the Swiss rounds, first overall seed, but a game lost there in game 2, and then a really painful loss there in game 5, where, you know, he had a great opening. It looked like he was going to be able to kill Gabriel there at several spots, and slowly but surely the game bogged down, and he could never get in that last attack with Batter Skull. And once Monastery Mentor showed up, Erik really couldn't offer much in the way of good attacks, and it was only a matter of time before Shvachkin found a second copy of Sensei's Divine Top, and Erik couldn't compete with that.
You had a feeling Mentor was going to come in, and it's for that exact reason. The games do get a little bit disjointed sometimes, but that card's got some amazing closing speed, as we just saw.
And a 5-game set with Shvachkin winning and Blood Moon never appearing once is not what I would have predicted here, but really well played match there by Shvachkin, particularly with setting up that 5th game there, which, you know, he took some risks. I think he was definitely erred on the side of caution.